Okay, so let's take a look at the document that we have so far. We have the title page. We scroll down and see a preface page. Scrolling on down on the third page, we have the table of contents. Come down to Stave 1, Marley's Ghost, and we could just keep going and we would see the pages formatted all the way down through Stave 5. So jumping back up to the top, what we want to do in this video is work in the headers of the pages so that we can, for the staves, we want the header on each of the staves to begin with. Stave 1 would have a header that says Stave 1, Marley's Ghost, and Stave 2 would have a header that says Stave 2 and then the title of that stave. We want the headers to change with the chapters, or with, as Dickens calls them here, a stave. So how in the world are we going to do this? Well, look at the very top where we started, and of course we did not insert a header on the first page. It's already there by default. We see it and it's called Header Section 1. And we scroll down, we see the footer for Section 1. And we see now on page 2, we see the header of Section 2 with its footer, Section 2, on that same page. When we come to page 3, where the table of contents is, we can see Section 3. Now, it's not called Section 3 because we're on page 3. It's called Section 3 because the third section in the document. Section 1 is the title page. Section 2 is the preface. Section 3 is the table of contents. And now when we come down to Stave 1, we are at Section 4. Stave 2 would show us that it's Section 5. Stave 3 would be Section 6. All the way down through Stave 5 would be Section 8. Now, what we want to do, as I said, is have a header that is unique to each chapter. So we're going to come back to the very top and look at what we have to work with here. In the header for the very first page, we see Header Section 1 over here on the left. But over along the right side of this section, we don't see any little tag that's telling us anything. And when we look up at the Header and Footer Contextual tab and look over in the navigation area, we don't see anything that's particularly highlighted, but we do see this option here called Link to Previous, but it's grayed out. Now, why is it that we cannot link the header in Section 1 to any header that's previous? Well, obviously, because there's nothing above Section 1. There's nothing that comes before it, so there's nothing to link to. But when I come down to Section 2 here on page 2, when I click here in the header, I can see that we have this little tag on the right side that says same as previous. And up here in the Header and Footer Contextual tab in the navigation pane, then I can see that the option here for linking to previous is selected. Now, the question is, do we want Section 2, Section 3, Section 4, Section 5, all the way down through Section 8? Do we want those sections to be connected to the sections that are above it? And the answer is no, we don't want that. We want our chapters to have unique headings for each of those chapters. Let me show you, though, what happens if you don't break the connection, if you just leave the connection there. So I'll come here in the very first Section 1, and I'll just type some crazy text. And then if I scroll down, you can see it on the second page. There it is in the header. In Section 2, there it is in Section 3. And if I get out of the header and Control End to go to the last page of the document, you can see that we have that same header right here all the way down in Section 8. So by leaving the sections connected to the sections above them, then whatever we type in 1 is going to flow downhill down to those sections that are below them. Now I'm just going to take this header out here on page 58 in Section 8. I'm just going to delete it here. And I wonder, did that delete it on the opening page? So I'll click out of the header, Control Home, and sure enough, on the very last page of the document, I deleted a header and that deleted it from every page in the entire document. The lesson you need to learn at this point is that sections that we created by using the page layout breaks and section breaks, the next page section breaks. Notice it says that this inserts a section break and start a new section on the next page. And what you've got to learn is that when you insert a section break, that you're inserting, whether it's one page or multiple pages as we have here, you're inserting blocks of content. You're inserting blocks that will allow us to format all of that particular block, or say like section 4 where stave 1 is. All of section 4 can be formatted as one unit, but you have to make sure that it's not linked to anything above it. So here in section 1, I don't want a header on this page anyway because it's the title page. You never see headers or footers on title pages. I also don't want one on the second page, but really I don't want this particular header to be linked to the one above it at all. So what I'm going to do, and what I want you to see, is here on section 2, I want you to see that this same as previous tag that we have on the right side of the header, watch what happens to it when I deselect up here the option to link to previous. You can see right now that link to previous is selected because it's highlighted. Now, it's a toggle, which means if I click it once, it'll turn off. If I click it again, it will turn on. So I'm going to click it once, and you can see that the same as previous tag went away. Link to previous is no longer selected. If I click it again, then it would give me a message here. Do you want to delete the header and connect it to the previous section? If I click yes, then what it does, leaves section 1 just like it was, but it puts that little tag back over here which says same as previous. So I'm going to break that permanently now. Link to previous, I'm going to turn it off. So section 2 is no longer connected to section 1. So if I came up here in section 1 now and typed my little crazy text for the header in section 1, do I see it in section 2? No, it's not there. Section 3, 4, it's nowhere. It's only on page 1 or on that title page because I broke the connection between this section break and every section break below it. So I'm just going to take that header out. And since that works so well, I'm just going to keep coming down, and everywhere that I have a section break, I'm going to break that connection, unless, of course, I found something where I might want to keep them together. For instance, if I had 2 or 3 pages of table of contents, I might want to keep those all together. But coming down to stave 1, here again, I'm going to break the connection with stave 1. So now we see that stave 1 is not connected to anything above it. And then we come to page 2 and we see the same thing, that this is not connected to anything above it, but we'll take a look at that in a minute. We're going to come down. I'm just going to use Control G. I'm going to drop down to stave 2 so I can get there more quickly. So here at stave 2, I'll click in the header. And I will come up to link to previous and break that connection. See, even though in header 4, in section 4, which was stave 1, then all of the link to previous were all broken whenever I broke that first page of the section. Whenever I broke the link here with what was above section 1, then when I come down through all of the pages, I'll just use the page down. You can see it. Close this. So you can see that right here, as I go page to page, just watch this area and you can see that this is not linked to this content above it. Not linked, not linked, not linked. Keep coming. Come on down to stave 2. And here you can see now that the page above stave 2 was just like I was showing you. It's not linked. But now all of a sudden we get to stave 2, I find that this is a new section. And so the computer's asking me what I want to do because the computer can't read my mind. And so here in Stave 2, Section 5, on the first page of Section 5, I'm going to break that link because I don't want this to be linked to anything above it. And so guess what happened on page 2 of Section 5? Just like it did on Section 4, there is no linkage between here and what's above it. So I'm going to use page down. I'm going to come down to Stave 3. And here on Stave 3, I'm going to click in the header. I'm going to break that connection by unchecking the link up here, link to previous. And I can see that the same as previous is gone. And when I come to the second page, I can see that it's gone. Using page down, I'm just going to come right on down to Stave 4, which is right there. Click in the header. I'm going to break that previous connection. Come on down to Stave 5 and do the same thing there. And then I will have completely broken the link between every one of those sections. There are 8 sections total, and now none of those sections have any linkage to the section above it in the header. Okay, so here we are in Stave 1, and I want to put the title of the book, A Christmas Carol, here, and on the left side, the right side of the screen, aligned with the right margin, I want to have Stave 1, Marley's Ghost. But in order to do this, I need to make sure I'm in the header, and I'm going to come up and change some tab settings in this location. So I'm going to click on, we can just go to Layout and the Paragraph Dialog Box Launcher, and to come down to Tabs. And I'm going to remove all of the tabs that I have here by clicking on Clear All. And then I'm going to put a tab stop at 6.5 inches because that's the right margin. I'm going to make sure that it's a right tab stop, and I'm going to set it by clicking that. And now I should have a left margin and a right margin where I can enter text and click OK. And so here on the left margin, I'll type the title of the book. I'll turn these paragraph off and jump over by, I press the tab after I type the L. I pressed tab, that jumped me over to the right margin, and I'll type Stave 1. And then I'll just do Shift Enter and type Marley's Ghost. Just like that. So if I come down in Stave 1, coming down to the second page, I see Stave 1, Marley's Ghost on the second page. And if I keep pressing page down as I jump through all of Stave 1, I can see that my headers are all identical. When I come to Stave 2, I have nothing in the header, and that's because I broke the connection between them. So again, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to set my tabs because I broke the connection with everything above it, right? So I need to reset all of my tabs for this stave. So I will do that by coming up to Paragraph, Tabs, Clear All, type in 6.5, make sure that it's clicked on the right alignment, set it, click OK. A Christmas Carol. I tab over to the right margin and put Stave 2. Then I hit Enter, tab over, and the first of the 3 spirits. As I scroll down through Stave 2, I see that I now have that heading at the top of every page. I'm going to repeat this process down through Stave 3. I'm going to select the header, make sure I don't have anything set in here that I don't want. I'm going to come to Paragraph, Dialog Box Launcher, come over to Tabs, clear any tabs that are set there, type in 6.5 to go to the right, and I'm going to set it, and OK. Type A Christmas Carol. Tab over for stave 3. Enter. Tab back over to the right margin, the second of the 3 spirits. Now I'm going to scroll down. You can see the headings, as you would expect, are the same in section 3 here. I'm going to page down through here, and I'm going to quit talking and just do the work now in staves 4 and 5, and then we will return back up to the top of stave 1. Okay, so here we are back at the top of stave 1, and we have our headers all set to work the way we want them between each of the staves. So stave 1 has a header of stave 1 Marley's Ghost as we set, and you can see that it's the same on the page 2 of chapter 1. Page 3 the same. Control End to drop to the bottom of the document, and here we see that stave 5 with the title, the end of it right there. So that's great. We got everything working the way we want, except for one more little tweak that we want to make. In a lot of books, and in the book that we're working on just now, you'll find that on page 1 of a chapter, you don't have a header. Sometimes you don't even have a footer on the bottom of the page where a new chapter starts. So this is what we can do. In this section here, I'm just going to come up and check the box where it says Different First Page. Now when I do that, I want you to watch what happens to the content here. And then if you can on your screen, or when we scroll down, you'll see what happens to the header on page 2 of this chapter. So let's go right now. I'm going to click on Different First Page. When I did that, the content of the header on the first page of this section 4, I broke it. But on page 2 of this section, it stayed. Page 3, it stayed. And if I go on down to where stave 2 begins, I'm going to do the same thing. Click in the header, click Different First Page. What I'm doing is I'm telling it I don't want that header to display on the first page the way it displays on the other pages of that section. So if I come on down to page 2 of stave 2, we see our header just like we had it. I'm not changing anything except I'm turning off the ability for the header to display on the first page of a section. I have to do each of these sections independently. So turn that one off, click down through stave 4. Click in stave 4 heading, turn off, or actually turn on the option that I want the first page to be different. And come down to stave 5. And click here and make that different. Close all of our headers and footers, and now we have the header as we designed it at the top of page 2, and so on. So this is how you work with section breaks, using them as a way to set unique headers for every change of sections in your document.